I'll be showing you is how to make a sushi nigiri. And what that is, it's the fish that's molded over the rice. So in this case we have the Hawaiian tuna and the Atlantic salmon. So now if you look at the fish very carefully, there's actually a lot of moisture that's on the outside. So we're gonna gently pat the fish dry with a paper towel. And again, the raw fish is somewhat delicate, so you want to make sure that you're gentle when handling the fish. So we're just going to pat the outside dry real quick to remove that excess moisture. And once we do that, we're ready to cut the fish so that we can make the sushi nigiri. Now you'll see that the fish has the muscle lines. Just like any good beef, you want to cut against the grain, not with the muscle tissue. So when I'm cutting the fish, you'll notice that I'm cutting it in a very specific manner. Okay, so using my chef's knife, I need to create strips of fish that will be molded over the rice. So in order for me to do that, I'm actually going to remove the bottom left corner of this block of tuna. I'm just going to remove that from the rest of it. So now from here, I have a nice, smooth, even surface with the tuna, and I can literally just keep following that edge to cut my nigiri strips. So again, using my chef's knife, using my opposite hand to brace the fish and to kind of hold the fish in place, so that way the fish doesn't shift around when I'm actually cutting the fish itself. So using my opposite hand to kind of hold the fish in place, I'm going to use the knife, start from the heel and work my way to the tip. And just come straight down, and there is one piece of tuna for the nigiri. So again, my opposite hand is holding the fish. I'm going to cut a few more pieces. And again, the size of the fish that you're cutting doesn't have to be real big. The idea of sushi is that one piece of sushi is one bite. So if you're cutting a very big piece of fish, that piece of sushi will probably end up being 2 bites. So keep that in mind when you're cutting the fish. It's pretty much going to be bite-sized pieces. Okay, so I just showed you guys how to cut the tuna for sushi. I'm going to place that off to the side just for one moment, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the Atlantic salmon now. And again, there is some excess moisture on the salmon. I'm just going to pat it dry with a paper towel. So you can see with the Atlantic salmon, it's a little bit different than the tuna. The center line of the salmon is still on the block of the salmon. So when we cut it, it's going to be a little bit of a different process for this one. Again, there is that center line, and that's a part that you usually don't want to eat and that you don't want to serve. So we're going to go ahead and cut that center line right out. You'll also notice that there is kind of like a brown edge on the salmon. There's no harm in that, but it's just not as appetizing to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and remove some of that, the brown color as well. I'm just going to use my chef's knife and just gently take off some of that other salmon. So I'm left with just the nice orange flesh right there. And again, so I know the center point is there. I'm going to cut that right out from the salmon. So I'm left with a nice block of salmon. There's none of the brown flesh on there. It's just the meat itself. So from here, I'm ready to cut the nigiri slices again. So again, I'm going to be cutting at an angle. So I'm going to be removing the bottom left part of the salmon, and that way I can cut the salmon into strips. Okay, so I'm going to remove that piece there. I'm just going to kind of keep working my way down. Again, holding bracing the fish with my opposite hand, just kind of creating that slice right down. So again, you want to keep the idea that one piece of sushi is one bite, so you don't want to make huge pieces when you're cutting the fish. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to teach you how to make is the actual nigiri itself. I just demonstrated how to properly cut the fish. So now I'm gonna go back to the sticky rice. So again, I'm gonna really make sure that my hands are moist for this part. And so now to make the nigiri itself, I'm gonna get a ball of rice that's probably about the same size as a tater tot. So if you think of the shape and the size of a tater tot, that's the same shape and size that I want to make with a sushi. And again, if we think of tater tots are bite-sized pieces. So again, you don't want to make anything too big where someone's going to have to break that piece in half. Ready to move on to the fish? So I'm going to start with the tuna. If I'm right-handed, I'm going to place the fish on my right hand, right like this. I'm going to take the tater tot shaped rice and I'm going to place it directly in the center of the fish. Then I'm going to flip the fish over so that the fish is on top and the rice is on the bottom. But I'm going to do it on my opposite hand, just like that. Now, we all know how to make the OK sign. So the OK sign is this. This will allow you to mold the fish onto the rice and to really create the shape that we're looking for here. So making the OK sign, the O part is going to come up and over the fish, and it's going to help mold that fish right onto the rice. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do it a few more times to really get the shape that I'm looking for. So again, the OK symbol, the O is going to come up and over the fish and mold right onto the rice. Do it a few more times. And that is a perfect piece of sushi nigiri. So again, I'll do this a few more times with the rest of the fish that I have, and I'll just explain it quickly as I'm doing it here for you guys. Again, really damp hands. Gonna grab some rice and make a tater tot with it. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just always want to keep in mind that it should be bite size. Okay, I have my tater tot. I'm gonna grab the fish. I'm right-handed, so the fish is gonna go right in my right hand. The tater tot is gonna go directly in the center of the fish. I'm gonna flip it over onto my opposite hand. The OK symbol is gonna come up and over the fish, and it's gonna mold right onto the rice. And you don't want to do this too many times because you don't want your body heat to transfer onto the fish. So you want to do this probably about 3 to 4 times maximum. You really don't need to do any more than that to really get that shape that we're looking for. Okay, so I have the tuna done. I'm going to move on to the salmon here real quick. And it's just going to be the same technique. Nothing's going to change as far as the rice or the size goes. Okay, so we're done making the nigiri. I'm going to show you guys how to plate the nigiri in a way so that it will be visually stunning for your party guests, or if it's just for your own personal use as well. So again, just like when I was making the California roll, I was offsetting each piece, so that way it was very easy to be able to distinguish from piece to piece. So again, I offsetted all the pieces of the tuna. Do the same thing with the salmon. So now also, if you're having a party come over, the sushi nigiri is a really good way to go because you can really create a lot of individual pieces of sushi, which will allow your party guests to kind of pick and choose the piece that they want to eat. And again, you can easily create a visually stunning display. You can get all different types of fish. In this case, it's just the tuna and the salmon. And just even these two fish alone gives you really good presentation when you're plating the sushi.